Every level of scale requires a different kind of leadership. And because it takes a lot of hard work, effort, stress, pressure to get to a million, to get to a few million, people start to see this is the only way I can be. And they don't even see that. And they keep on doing the same things. And then it becomes like hitting a wall. What you don't see is that you are hitting the wall, right? It's not the wall is out there.
Welcome back to the Scale Smart, Grow Fast podcast. Now, the strengths that helped you build your business may be the very things holding you back from the next level. In this episode, Sumit Gupta, a serial entrepreneur and strategic partner to high-growth CEOs, reveals why leaders unknowingly create bottlenecks and how to break through them to scale. If you're ready to step out of stress, overwork, and hesitation to create exponential growth, this is the conversation you need. Sumit, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Can you maybe just share a little bit about your background and what's brought you to doing what you do today?
So my background is actually in technology, and I'm doing something which is very different for what I have done for most of my life, or even beyond what I thought I could do, like for most of my life. So I started as an engineer. I worked in a tech company. I started a couple of tech startups, and then that took me to slowly and slowly, like I fell in love with leadership, like I fell in love with computers and technology earlier. And for the last 4.5 years, 5 years, I have been totally on the other side, running a school of leadership, working with entrepreneurs, helping them scale their companies, scale their revenue, scale their impact, but by working on them, by working on their leadership, not necessarily on the business.
Awesome. I love it. My background's also in computer engineering, having that tech background. Very similar story there. Now, your journey, you talk about, you kind of started out as like a shy techie guy and you go into search out strategic partners. What was the key mindset shifts that help you step into that leadership role and scale your businesses?
I think one of the most important things to see that 95% of human behavior is either subconscious or habitual. We don't realize that we are not even conscious. We are driven by habit most of our day, which defines our ability to do anything. So for me, for a long time, this was like a non-techie thing. This was like a wide open, scary world out there if I'm doing anything which requires me to not deal with computers and deal with people. And I never realized that was just a mindset, like because I grew up with the computers, I grew up with math, I grew up with loving analytics, loving any kind of calculations. And in a way, I created a frame for myself that this is who I am and this is not who I am. And I never could saw through that. I always lived in that. And once I broke through that, I think the whole world opened up. So one of the biggest, as you said, right, one of the biggest mindset shifts was like, this is not who I am. Like I thought I was this shy, introverted, engineering, like good at computers, good at analytical skills person, and not good at all the other things. And I saw these are just learned skills which anybody can learn, anybody can grow. Like, there is no one kind of human being and not one kind of human being.
That's an incredible breakthrough. And now you're sharing that breakthrough with others through your program. Many entrepreneurs hit bottlenecks as they scale. What are some of the biggest challenges that leaders face when growing and managing large teams, and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, I think it's very important to identify the source of it, right? Because entrepreneurship or leadership is not easy. You're trying to like move uphill. You're trying to do something which is not going to happen on its own, which requires a lot of hard work. What that does is it basically solidifies your patterns, solidifies your habits, your behaviors, whatever they are, right? For some people, they are being aggressive. For some people, they are being soft spoken. For some people, relying on hard work, and that is required. What people don't see, and what when the time comes to grow, what happens normally is that very different kind of a leadership is required for a company at, let's say, like from 0 to 1 million, and then from 1 to 3 to 4 million, then from 4 to 10 million beyond that. And we can take this analogy forward. But every scale, every level of scale requires a different kind of leadership. And because it takes a lot of hard work, effort, stress, pressure to get to a million, to get to a few million, that people start to see this is the only way I can be. And they don't even see that. And they keep on doing the same things. And then it becomes like hitting a wall. But what you don't see is that you are hitting the wall, right? It's not the wall is out there. It's like you have become your own biggest enemy, and not because of any fault of yours. Just this is how human beings work. So that's what I help people see, and it can be very frustrating until you see it, but it can also be very refreshing, very revealing, very easy once you see it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. You mentioned, they hit that wall or, the plateau. What are some of the most common blind spots that hold these leaders back from their next level of growth?
One of the biggest blind spots is to be the expert, to be the know-it-all, right? Because that is how most entrepreneurs start by knowledge, by functional knowledge of their industry, of their technology, of what is happening in the market, and then because of that, they are able to build a product, a service which can solve a need, and they are able to scale a company to a certain level. Now, beyond a certain level, especially as the company grows to like 50, 70, 80 people, and the revenues grow to a million, there is only so many hours in a day. So the founder cannot scale by just adding more hours, and it's also not sustainable from a mental health, from a healthy physical body point of view. And then that being the know-it-all, being able to pinpoint, okay, where is this challenge occurring for my business, actually becomes a bottleneck. Like I will share a simple story. When I first became a manager, so I was a techie and I was a good techie, so I was quickly promoted to be a manager. When I first became a manager, I knew everything about the software that we were building. That everybody in my team, I would go and say, this is wrong, do it this way. You are wrong, do it this way. This is not how it works, so do it this way. What that did is now that might be wonderful, technical knowledge, but everybody started hating me. Everybody started getting quieter. Everybody starting retreating into their own silos. And I couldn't even see it. I thought I was doing my job. I thought I was being the smart one. What I could not see was like how I was basically causing the distancing that was created in the team, and which led to a lot of challenges for me as a manager, as a leader.
Oh, that's a great revelation there of, just because it seems like you're doing the right thing may not actually be the right thing. And that's a huge blind spot for people. What did you do or what happened to help you kind of uncover this realization?
So in that case, I was pushed into a coaching program by the company that I was working with. And that was like an eye opener for me. It took me a while to realize that my strengths, my skills, which are my strengths, right? So no shame in that, are actually now coming in the way because the role has changed, because my it is required from me to succeed now has changed. And that was a huge blind spot. And then suddenly it was like starting from scratch. And there's a whole lot of internal resistance to change, because like you have to give up on the way that you have been operating. For me, that was like almost 15 to 20 years of operation at that point of time. Like you have to unlearn, you have to learn, and that's not easy. It was eye opening, but it was also not so easy to digest, not so easy to take it in and before the change started.
Now, it sounds like you had some coaching program that kind of helped you identify this. Do you have any tips or suggestions for leaders that might suspect maybe they've got some blind spots but don't know what they are yet, how they could maybe start identifying those?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the best things any leader can do is stop, take a pause, and ask themselves whatever challenges, whatever problems, whatever like lack of growth is happening, how are they contributing? And this is not a question to blame. This is not a question to find fault with yourself. This is simply a question of how could you be coming in the way? Like, or if you are coming in the way, what could be a reason for that? And I always use this example of like if I drop a pen, I ask people, why is the pen falling? And people say because of gravity. And that's the correct answer, right? That's the right answer. But then I add there is a second answer to this question, right? Why is the pen falling? And then slowly people get it. And then somebody in the workshop basically raises their hand and say, because you are dropping it, right? So the gravity is the right answer, but I am also dropping it. And if let the gravity be there, but if I don't drop it, the pen will not fall. So similarly, whatever problem that you're facing, whatever challenges that you're experiencing, there is an answer which is like gravity, which is not a wrong answer, but it could be like a recession. It could be my team is this way or my company is this way. We were late to the market. We are early to the market. You have a answer which is external to you, but then there's also an answer. Where are you dropping the pen? What is a version of that? And it's not right and wrong. Both are true.
Going back to what we mentioned a little bit earlier about like overwork, if you're trying to do it all as, the tech leader, the skills that you started the business with, bootstrapping from ground up and isn't going to get you to the next level. So this overwork and hesitation, it keeps many entrepreneurs stuck. What strategies do you recommend for leaders who struggle to delegate and get that, start getting themselves out of that low level kind of tech minded role?
I think the first thing is to listen to feedback, right? Because we're just talking about one way this human strength can become a weakness, but there could be many other ways because different people have different personalities, different ways of operating. So this might be different for everybody. The first thing which any leader can do is to be open and ask for feedback and then be open to listen. And many times the best feedback which you can get is from the people closest to you. which includes the people in your team, which includes the people like in your family or friends who can see you up close. But you have to invite that feedback because it is not easy to listen to that feedback. So people also hold back. People also do not share. So asking questions, deliberately inviting tough feedback, critical feedback, and then going out and looking for help if you need some help. Many times, once you see the feedback, like, you can take the first steps in a different direction. But what can also happen is, yes, you see the feedback, but you know no other way of operating. You have no idea how to now suddenly change. So in that case, you can seek professional help, right? You can seek the help of a trainer or a coach or somebody who can guide you in that process, because not just it is new skills, right? It is also a different way of being as a leader, as a human being, and
Yeah.
that can be emotionally challenging, right? So any kind of support or mentoring or coaching support from somebody who has been there, done that before, is extremely valuable to speed up the journey at that point of time.
Every day, your top performers are buried under emails, scheduling, and reporting. Work that doesn't move the needle. The result? Frustration, burnout, and worst of all, lost revenue. That's why we created the Executive's Guide to Scaling High Performers, a simple, battle-tested framework to eliminate busy work and unlock your team's full potential. Inside, you'll get the exact steps top executives use to retain A players, boost productivity, and free up their team for high impact work. Stop losing revenue. Go to workergenics.com/growthhub or check the episode notes to download the Executive's Guide to Scaling High Performers now. I'm glad you brought that up about how it's a different kind of way of being. And so, as a business scales, the CEO's role evolves. What are some of the biggest shifts in responsibility that a founder needs to make when moving from that hands-on entrepreneur to a strategic leader?
One of the biggest shifts, right, is providing something for the customer to start building the organization. So start looking at the organization and the people in it as the pieces which come together. And many founders are so passionate about the technology or the business or the core of their business and then serving at a high quality to their customers, to their clients, that they do not focus on the people, on the organization itself until it is too late, until cracks start to appear in teams or with people. So one of the biggest shifts is to start to see that now your role is not to build this product suite of services, quality, all of that, but to actually look at, like, is this organization the organization that can sustain for the next 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, and can innovate without my help, right? Without my creativity, is the organization capable enough to innovate? Is the organization capable enough to challenge my ideas, even as a founder, and grow on its own? Because that's what defines like a successful startup is it creates more leaders rather than more followers. So that shift from the product, the service, the technology to the organization, which includes the people, which includes the systems, which includes processes, which also includes what you speak, what you talk, how you speak, what you don't speak, right? How you don't speak. Listening, I think one of the biggest shifts which happens is like a focus from more of speaking to more of listening.
Very good. I think you touched on this a little bit. Many leaders unknowingly become their biggest bottleneck. How can they identify when they're slowing growth and maybe leverage outsourcing, bringing other team members like virtual assistants to remove themselves from the low impact tasks?
I would even say that anytime your growth is stifled, you are in the way. And once again, not as something to blame, but something to simply notice. Because in the end, you are the source of the company, you are the source of the business. Your time is the source, your energy is the source. So if something is not working, instead of asking, how do I do? If I ask, who can help me do that? That question, who, has unlimited upside. The question, how, has a limited upside because your time is limited, your energy is limited. Even if you have 10 answers to the how questions, you cannot implement all 10. But if you say, who can help me do that? Then you can just let somebody take care of one part of responsibility and then keep on exponentially increasing your impact, increasing your velocity, increasing your productivity by focusing not on the strategy, on the how to, but actually on the who. Like, who is the person who can help me do that? And then I don't even have to be involved.
I love it. Getting that who is critically important, and building a strong team is critical for scaling. What hiring mistakes do you see CEOs most often making?
I would share two examples, right? One is hiring just for the skills and not for the will, especially in that early phase when you're looking to delegate, looking to scale your impact. You want to hire people who can join you in your journey, who can either they are already leaders or they can be groomed into leaders. Yes, so they have obviously have to have the functional skills that you're hiring them for, but it is very important that you can see eye to eye, talk to them like friends, that you don't hate being in each other's company, and the core values that you go by, that the company, that your business go by, are also their core values, or you can get behind a single set of core values, even if it is not like aligned to begin with. So one of the biggest mistakes is like just hiring for the skill and not
Yeah.
looking at the attitude, at the values. And the
Totally.
second is once you hire somebody, then not giving them the space, not giving them the freedom to do what they are here to do in their own way, or to start to think that everybody has to now follow my recipe, or only my way is the right way. And that stifles growth, and that stifles creativity. That had a lot of founders, because what I shared earlier, right? They are experts. They know their business inside out. It is very tempting to basically go into a right wrong mindset, right? Do this, not do that.
Yeah.
What that does is makes people dependent on you. It creates a handicap in your business, which you realize few years later, when that person now has to suddenly create more leaders under them. Because whatever you are doing with the leader today in your company, if the company keeps on growing, that leader also has to do down their organization in a few years.
Mhm.
So that's another big mistake, that you basically hire somebody, you get some delegation, you get some free space, but you're not creating a leader. You're just creating a follower. That's where you can get obedience, you can get compliance, but you cannot get innovation, you cannot get creativity.
I love it. Now, earlier we kind of mentioned talking about habits, right? And having to break free of old habits. Leadership at scale requires new ways of thinking and operating. You mentioned that. What's one unconventional leadership habit or practice that you swear by?
So there are 5 or 6 habits which I talk about, right? And I'm glad you talked about habit, because it makes it very, very practical, right? Leadership, management, we can talk about big buzzwords, we can read big books, we can do big programs, but in the end, it is human behavior. One of the simple ways to put anything into practice is make it a part of your habit. One of the habits, like which I say is the core of everything, is just slowing down, taking a deep breath. Because then, when you're able to take a deep breath, when you're able to take a pause, you listen more, and you're able to see different signals. And other people around you also are able to feel a bit more of your presence, a bit more of like who you are beyond what you do. And that creates not just in you like better listening, better thinking, but even in the team, that creates more openness, that creates more dialogue, that creates more trust, that creates more empathy. So just slowing down. And research has proven, right? Many times when we get a tough email, or somebody is in a tough conversation, we stop breathing. Like we can stop our breathing for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and we don't realize that. But simply taking a deep breath, allowing our body to get in the oxygen that we need, can unlock so many things in like how to deal with a difficult employee, how to deal with accountability issues, how to build trust, right? How to help somebody with a challenge that they are facing. So taking a pause, taking a deep breath is a foundational practice. Which, if you see organizations, it's people are in so much hurry that they don't even see what they don't see.
I love it. The breathing just is has so many benefits that you mentioned, and like it's amazing looking at the research coming out about the connection between breath and like your nervous system and how just that's so tightly connected and an amazing technique and tool that we have access to. Everyone has access to is just control your breath. Awesome. Thinking about, your kind of coaching style, what's one piece of advice you give to every entrepreneur who's serious about breaking through their next growth ceiling?
Absolutely right. So, and this will build up on the breathing, right? Because once you slow down, you can see more. You can listen to more. If you're moving fast, everything appears like a blur. But if you see more, then the next step obviously is to talk about it, is to address it. Another big thing which happens in organizations, which you realize as a problem much later, is people know the problems, people know the challenges, but nobody talks about it. Nobody has the courage to talk about it. So once you slow down, once you breathe, once you get some feedback, now you know what is going on. Now the next step is how to have a tough conversation, how to have a courageous conversation, how to bring the elephant in the room to the front of the table, rather than waiting or trying to just postpone a problem until it becomes so big that you can't avoid. So having tough conversations, having courageous conversations, and this is not just you, this is also inviting people in your team to talk about like what is the one issue that we are ignoring, which will hurt us in the future? What is one behavior of mine that is already hurting the company and that you have not shared with me? Right? So asking questions, inviting tough feedback, but then addressing those head on, even if they bring up some heated conversations, even if they bring up like some emotions, some tears, some shouting, some heated tensions. That's good. Avoiding tension, which I see like a lot of politically correct environments, they tend to realize there is a problem. Everybody knew this 1 year ago. So getting some like human energy, emotional energy out in the open, and then having that step back, that gaining space to build on that, not to get into a fight and beat each other up, but to slow down and to have a courageous conversation like we are on the same team, not like enemies. Is the second step, which will help you see problems, first of all, before they become problems, and help you see opportunities for like business expansion or new markets or a new person that might take up a new lead or a new opportunity and then give them that opportunity. You will see, not just you will avoid problems, right? You will see opportunities that you can capitalize on, which are right in front of you. So that's the second thing which I would add is like once you slow down, then talk about what is coming up.
That's powerful. Well, Sumit, you have shared so many great strategies and tips for our audience today. If people want to continue the conversation with you and learn more about your methods, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
The best way for anybody to reach me is on LinkedIn or on my website, which is deployyourself.com. I have a very simple scorecard of 30 questions where people can basically rate themselves on six leadership choices, the six leadership habits or practices that we were just talking, one or two of them, and get a customized score and customized feedback. Like one of the things is that a lot of these things are blind to us. We don't see. So a questionnaire or any kind of self-reflective process can be really helpful. So I invite anybody to reach out to me on LinkedIn or my website and fill that scorecard and see where you stand on these six different leadership choices and what to do, right? What to do once you get your scores, once you get your assessment.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with our audience. We'll be sure to have those links in the episode description. So those of you listening or watching online can just click that link very easily. Now, if you got value from this episode, do one quick thing. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future strategies to help you scale smarter. And do you know a business owner or colleague who could use this? Share this episode with them. It could be exactly what they need right now. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, leave us a quick rating. It helps us reach more leaders like you. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.